Hey guys, today I've got this 2018 Buick Enclave over here behind me, and I've got to replace a Serpentine belt on it, so I'm going to show you guys step by step how to do that. This is definitely not a belt that you want to do on the side of the road. If it breaks on you, it's a little bit difficult, so it's not too bad if you know what to do. So let's get into it. So this 2018 Enclave, it's got 138,000 miles or so, the original belt, and it's got some cracks in it, but as you can see from the top, you really can't get to the belt from the top. So now I've raised the car up in the air, and if you come underneath here, you still really cannot get access to the belt even from underneath. There's just no room at all. So whether you have an Enclave, a Chevy Traverse, or a GMC Acadia, it's basically the same setup. The way that you get to this belt is first remove the wheel and tire. I'm actually doing brakes on this car, which is why I already have this taken apart and I have the caliper hanging. You obviously don't need to do that to change the belt, but I'm doing brakes anyway. So remove the wheel and tire. On this one, it's got these 22mm lug nuts. Once you have the wheel and tire off, you're gonna have to remove this whole fender liner. So using a T15 Torx bit, just go around and start taking out these Torx bolts. Let's come down under here to the front and get these three out here. Okay, moving on from there, we're gonna come here and get this one down here. Okay, let me get a couple more out here. Let's start with this one up here. And let's come this way and get this one back there. So this whole fender liner is loose now. I'm probably gonna disconnect this, push out that little tab right there. Actually, what I might do is just take out those other Torx bolts and I'll see if I can slide this plastic piece over to kind of get it out of my way here. There, let's see. All right, let's see if I can kind of peel this back. The ones over there, I'm not too worried about removing because I think I can just fold this thing back and get room. See right there, it kind of folds anyway. That should be fine right there. I'll just kind of leave this like that. Now we can actually get in here. And hopefully this isn't in the way too bad. I'm just gonna take this off so we have some more room to see what's going on here. These locking retainers are kind of a pain. There. There we go. Pop this little guy out here. Now, in order to release tension on the belt, what you'll need to do is take your 1/2 inch ratchet without any socket on it. Just use the square drive, and you'll have to put it into that square slot right there on the tensioner, and you'll be able to release tension on the belt. So really just a 1/2 inch ratchet like this would be fine to release the tension. All right, this is about the best camera angle I could come up with here, so hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna try to make sure my arm doesn't get in the way. So as you can see, this goes into the slot, and we're gonna rotate it kind of in the clockwise direction here. So yeah, like that. Probably slide it off of this smooth pulley here, and then release the tension. Ow! Try not to crush my thumb in between the crank pulley. All right, so once you're off of that smooth pulley, then we can pretty much get it off of everything else. The only trick would be right here on the actual tensioner pulley. You'll have to kind of turn the belt 90 degrees and slide it out the backside like that. Get it off of the water pump. And
It's a little tricky because right above the water pump there's a bracket. I think it's the bracket for the motor mount. There's not a lot of space, so you're gonna have to kind of finagle it. Okay, there. Finally got it. Yeah. Kind of a pain to get off from the water pump pulley. There we go. All right.
Now guys, here's a little word of advice for you. So here is the old belt. Something that I recommend doing anytime you change a belt on a car is take the new belt that they sold you at the parts store, take it out of the package, lay it side by side by the new belt, and you want to compare and make sure that they are the same length. Check this out. And it's funny now that I'm actually doing this in a video because look, compare this. Wow. Okay. The new belt that they sent me is not the right one. It's way too long. So always do this because inadvertently this is going to happen. They're going to send you the wrong belt and then you're going to be fighting it for 30 minutes trying to figure out why you can't get the belt on, and it's all because they sent you the wrong part. So let me order the right belt and we'll try this again. All right, so here we are. I'm going to throw this belt to the side. I've got another one here that I ordered, and so let's actually take a look at this one. And it's funny that I caught this on camera because earlier I was expecting that the belt was going to be right, so I didn't actually think that there was going to be a problem. But that just goes to show you got to check your parts, especially on belts, because you'll waste a lot of time if you don't. So let's check this one out. Okay, about right. Not going to be perfect, but about right here. And as you can see, this one is good. So this is the right belt. So if you've got a 2018 Enclave, get that part number right there. And the old bando's going in the return bin. Okay, so let's get this belt on. I'm gonna get it on the water pump pulley first because that is the most difficult pulley to get it on.
All right, so let's get this guy on there. Slide it over the top of the water pump pulley like so. There we go. I think you guys can see that. Okay, now from the water pump pulley, we're gonna lift the top of the belt over this tensioner, over to the alternator. From the alternator, we're gonna go just go for now to the idler pulley, then back around to the compressor. Then we'll take the bottom of this belt underneath the crank pulley. Then we're going to come in between the crank pulley and the water pump and run it over to the tensioner. I'm going to leave it right there for a second. Now let me do this. Let me take it off of this smooth pulley real quick. Oops. Because what I actually want to do is run this behind the tensioner pulley. Remember, we got to kind of turn the belt 90 degrees and go behind. And once we do that, there we go. Now this is in the right spot. It's on all the pulleys at this point except for the smooth pulley over here. Gonna get our ratchet back in place so we can relieve tension on the tensioner. Once I do that, I'll be able to get it back on the smooth pulley and we should be good to go. Let's see. Okay. Now I always do a final check and I go around and I make sure that the belt is fully seated on all the pulleys, make sure that there's no, check your compressor, your alternator, all your grooved pulleys, make sure that the water pump, make sure it's fully seated in the groove on every pulley.
Because if you don't pay attention and you have it halfway on one of the pulleys, then when you crank up the car, you could destroy the new belt. This one right here is not perfectly centered, but that's okay because it's a smooth pulley. As soon as we start the car, it'll center itself. So I'm not worried about that one. So at this point, I'm going to put everything back how it was here. And we'll get the fender liner back on and we should be good to go here. All right, so this was here. This was plugged in. Make sure that this gets plugged in all the way. Sometimes these little connectors, they need a little lubrication on the inside of the housing in order to go back in properly. There we go. If you don't hear this connector click in and it doesn't want to go in, do like what I did. Just take a little WD-40 and just kind of spray it on the inside of this plastic housing. Not inside where the pins go, but just the actual housing portion. Just kind of spray it in there and then it'll go in nice and easy. Get this little piece back on. Okay, let's move the fender liner back in place here. Oops, I was a little premature on this bolt here. Take this back off. Slide it behind there. That's pretty much it on that. The fender liner goes behind this plastic piece. Make sure that up here, by where the fender liner meets the fender, it goes kind of behind the fender. And then the only other spot to worry about is the one down here. Make sure that the fender liner goes above this right here. That way you can actually get the bolts in. So I've skipped ahead here because I don't want this video to be too long and boring. I figured if you made it to this point, you don't need to see me tightening 14 bolts. But anyway, I got all the bolts back in, back tight. The fender liner is nice and secure. Everything's back in place. Everything I took off is back where it's supposed to be. Let me get the brakes reassembled and we'll get the tire on and be done. Alrighty, once you finally get the wheel and tire back on, go ahead and torque all the lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds. Alright, let's start the car. Whoop, try it again. Nope, come on, Buick. If the belt flies off, you did something wrong. Well, the belt's still on there, so we're looking pretty good. And that right there is how you change a serpentine belt on a 2018 Buick Enclave. Also, the same procedure would be used, of course, on the GMC Terrain and the Chevy Traverse. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.